It's big news in the Big Apple. Daniel Jones out for the season with an ACL injury. Here to break down the injury and what it means for the Giants is Locked On Giants host Patricia Traina at Patricia_Traina on your favorite social media. Patricia, with this news around Daniel Jones, let's just look at the big picture here. What does it mean for the New York Giants moving forward?
Yeah, it means the Giants are at a crossroads here. They have some big decisions to make regarding the future of their quarterback. Daniel Jones signing the 4-year, $160 million contract this past offseason. A lot of people weren't quite sure about it. The Giants, I think at the time, really didn't have much of a choice given where they were drafting, given the options that were available. So they went ahead and did it, but they did leave themselves with an out after 2 years. So they're 1 year into the contract. To cut him after this year would be kind of costly. I don't think the Giants would do that, but they do have an out after next year. And it's just a matter of, do they bring him back to be the starter, which I'm not so sure will be the case, or what do they do with him? And that's going to be the big question mark. Obviously, right now, the first concern is for the young man to get healthy and to get right with that knee, and also to continue getting healthy with his neck that, kept him out for 3 weeks.
Yeah, so a lot of injuries for this New York Giants team over the course of this season, not the least of which right now, in addition to Daniel Jones, is Tyrod Taylor, who's currently on injured reserve. Where in the short term do the Giants go at quarterback for now?
Yeah, so head coach Brian Daboll said that it's probably not going to be Tyrod Taylor coming back from IR anytime soon. If you remember a few years ago, Tyrod Taylor had a rib injury, and that was made worse by an accidental puncturing of his lung for a pain injection. So for the time being, Daboll said, look, we'll get Tommy DeVito, who's the undrafted rookie free agent that everybody kind of loved in the summertime, a New Jersey native. We'll continue to bring him up to, to get him ready for a bigger role, a more advanced role in the offense. They also signed veteran Matt Barkley a couple weeks ago. Barkley played with Daboll up in Buffalo a couple of years ago. So he's sort of familiar with the scheme, but this is, there's some different terminology. There's some different things that they need to, kind of get him up to speed. So that's the plan for the time being. Daboll did not rule out bringing in another quarterback. They had also worked out Ian Book a few weeks ago. He did not make the cut, but you got to think that, look, Daniel goes on IR, so that should open up a spot for Barkley to come up to the 53-man roster, and they'll probably add another quarterback to the practice squad that they'll have in reserve.
All right, so now looking into this offseason, obviously you mentioned some of the big decisions that could be there. Are there bigger conversations to be had about how the New York Giants organization goes as a whole, maybe even coaching staff, all of these opportunities that could potentially arise to make some big changes? Or is it mostly going to be focused on what they'll do at quarterback?
I think there's going to have to be some big changes, some conversations made. I mean, look, let's not sugarcoat it. The coaching hasn't been really stellar this year. The play calling has been suspect. Special teams has been a problem. The offensive line has been a problem. I mean, the list goes on and on, So part of that is obviously the talent, the lack of depth, the injuries. We can't, rule that out, but it all factors in. And, at some point you got to say, okay, look, maybe we should think about shaking things up. So I would not be stunned if the Giants maybe think about making a change at offensive coordinator. Mike Kafka, who was the toast of the town a year ago, this year, I understand it's been a challenge for him, but just hasn't been the same. Just, I don't know what's been the difference for him, but you look at it and this offense has not taken the step forward that everybody was expecting. And this was even before the injuries started piling up. As far as the quarterback situation goes, I think at this point, people will say, the staunchest Daniel Jones supporters will say, oh, the organization didn't do him any favors all these years. He didn't have a number one receiver. He didn't have a good offensive line. He didn't have this. He didn't have that. Throw all that out. Let's focus on the last year and a half or so with this regime. All right. Daniel Jones looked good last year. He looked like he could manage the offense and be the answer moving forward. This year, he has regressed. And, you can point to the injuries. You can point to Saquon being out. You can point to whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you also have to look at Daniel's performance. He's holding on to the ball too long. He's airmailing passes that he should be making. The injury situation with him is another problem. It's just, how many more excuses can you give this guy? And I say that being a supporter. I wanted Daniel Jones to succeed, but there comes a time when you just have to say, look, enough's enough. It's time to go in a different direction.
Sure. And hey, Patricia, just a quick one as we close out here. Right now, the New York Giants in line for a top 5 selection in the NFL draft. What would you say are the chances that the Giants maybe take a look at a quarterback if they stay in that top 5 area?
I'd say they're pretty high. I think they would be foolish not to.
All right. Well, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on with the Giants, who that top 5 pick could be in Patricia's mind, as well as, of course, what else is going on around Daniel Jones and his future with the New York Giants, Locked On Giants every single Monday through Friday is the place to be, hosted by Patricia. Patricia, thank you so much for coming through and joining us here today.
Thanks.